Wow. This week, we saw United States Marine Corps General Langley state that Burkina Faso and Traore are a threat to their national security because of their misappropriation of funds, of the gold that belongs to them, by the way, right? And this is something we have seen throughout the diaspora is they will use one of us to attack another one of us and say that they have nothing to do with it. And there's so many complexities that we're going to get into with the professor, right? But I want to show just a small clip of what Traore responded with because I think it was absolutely brilliant, right? Um please bear with me. Let me get this right. Uh go ahead on and share this. Give me one moment. I'm going to pop this up. During this video, Ibrahim Traore is discussing multiple things. First and foremost, right, by what's going on, right? As far as the misdirection and the hypocrisy that is coming from the West and how they continue to try and manipulate the freedom fight that is occurring. No matter the face they try to put behind it, it can't work, right? So let's go ahead on and present this because I think this presentation is essential and super necessary. I'm only going to play a small clip of it before we go ahead on and call the professor in and ask his thoughts about this, especially about the NGOs. We're not going to play the entire thing, just a small clip. I'm going to leave a link below. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And let's take a listen to what President Traore said.
Our country has long been in a very complicated system. Most of you who are young like me, we were born into this system. But that's not what can allow Burkina to thrive. Because in this situation, there are only two cases. Either we accept to fight or we remain slaves forever. I told you once, there are those who are slaves in their
Hey,
minds.
except to fight or remain slaves
They
forever.
can only serve their master. And those people try every time to manipulate you. You must advise each other. Because every situation can be exploited by these enemies of the nation to try to discourage you, to demotivate you. So you must advise each other and not pay attention to certain remarks, even on some media. Not everyone is obliged to be patriotic. You are the first patriots. You have decided
Wow.
to defend the homeland. There is nothing better than that. Those who want to support you, let them support you. Those who want to discourage you through writings, you must close your ears and move forward. As for
Wow.
those, we will fight them here. So we must remember something. Recently, there is a so-called NGO. It's not even an NGO. Because NGO stands for non-governmental organization.
There's so much from that one clip already, right? There's so much we can digest. Excuse me, I was muted. But particularly the biggest part being the first Patriots, right? Now, the United States Marine Corps general stated that Ibrahim Traore was somehow a, you know, there we go. So it said that Ibrahim Traore was somehow a problem for Burkina Faso. And that's something that I'm confused on because America simply wants to protect its own interest, just like France does, right? But the sicking of the black general on Traore is something that's really interesting to me. So what I want to do is call the professor and I want to ask him. I have to ask him what he thinks about this because this is this is something that I didn't think I'd be able to see in my lifetime, right? So let's check this out. Let's check this out. Let's call the professor, see what he has to think. I'm very interested in diving into this. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
What's good, Professor? How you doing today, man?
Good.
That's good. That's good. Well, we've had a busy week, and Traore has certainly had a busy week. He has General Langley accusing him of misusing gold funds, and he's being told that he's a threat to his own nation's national security by a black general in America, right?
Yeah.
This is a really interesting thing. Before we really dive into it, what are your first thoughts of this particular piece of content that I sent to you?
I mean, it is interesting to see America being concerned about anything African.
Right.
And the fact that they are concerned about it and saying something that is positive, something that is negative, telling you that you are a threat to your own people, at least that is a very, very good sign. It's a mark of excellence that tells you you are doing something good for your people.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
For them to take interest in it. These are people who never took interest, even when South Africa was under the worst apartheid system that ever existed. They never paid attention to it, other than they got paid with gold to be silent. So now, when the gold is not coming the American way, now they are talking very loudly.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's something that Traore said in this speech is that this is the pot calling the kettle black, right? And
Yep.
you know, this using of a black general, do you think that is strategic in itself, right?
They're very strategic because the average African cannot differentiate between that American general and any other black man. So when you see an elder person telling a younger one that you are doing the wrong thing, most people in Africa are bound to accept it because it is a commonly held wisdom that older people are wise and what they say just goes as the truth.
Traore
So
referred
use
to
an
him.
older. Mhm.
Traore referred to him as a slave who wants to manipulate the patriots of his people, right? And again, I'm paraphrasing. And I somewhat agree with that, right? Um, you were saying using an older person could what?
Yep.
Before I cut you off.
You see, elders are respected in most African communities. They are assumed to be wise. So this Traore definitely is a younger fellow. So when a general is telling you a general has eaten a lot of salt, as they say, he is tasty. He knows much better. He has experienced way more stuff. So when he advises a reckless, and putting here reckless in quotation marks, a reckless youthful son who wants to be a general or wants to behave like a general, there is all near consensus that, yeah, the general knows much more than this boy. So that is the kind of reception of that message that Americans were expecting for sending him.
Do you think that message was received properly, or do you think it failed miserably?
You see, whether it is failing or not, or whether it was received well or not really depends on what they want. Number one, if they still want to eliminate him, whether it is received well or not received well, they'll still have many more channels of eliminating him. This was, you've heard of firing a warning shot. So this could have been just a warning by the American generals that whatever you are doing, we have an interest in it. It is affecting us negatively. And you know what we do to everyone who threatens us. Remember, they've just eliminated our good boy Gaddafi.
That's what he said. He was
So
speaking about Libya and how there was an NGO that destroyed Libya and is now trying to do a similar thing with Burkina Faso, right? If I got it correct, right?
exactly, that is what they are saying.
Right, right. So ultimately, then you mentioned about him taking a page out of Kagame's book, right?
Mm-hmm.
What page would help him in this particular situation? Because I'm pretty sure Kagame faced something similar, correct?
Yeah, just trust yourself. Don't don't rely on them to protect you.
Who?
You survived in the bush, you can survive in the city.
Right, right. What does this mean for the larger scale, right? Does this mean that any government that may show any form of support for Traore would be marked as an enemy by their western parts or counterparts?
Yes, yes, but it will have no effect because the American hegemony is dead now.
Really?
Nobody takes them serious. Even the Americans themselves don't take themselves seriously.
Wow.
You
So who
see,
is that? China then that has risen?
it's not just about China rising.
Hmm.
Every empire has within itself elements of self-destruction. The more you expand, the more you become powerful, the more you have within yourself elements that will destroy you from internally. There is a limit to power beyond which there is self-destruction. And the self-destruction could be just the economy cannot sustain that. The military cannot sustain itself. Even the internal dynamics and the forces that pull in different directions cannot hold, where the center cannot hold. Not to mention, while you are expanding, you are also creating many enemies, or you are busy fighting enemies that you stretch your resources that you can't, to a level that you can't sustain it. But then if you have done some basic political science 101, you know, there is hegemonic stability theory. Whenever you are expanding, whenever you are becoming powerful, you are creating another force
Right.
that is in the way to be number two and to be your challenger.
Right.
And sometimes the more you expand, the more you create enemies, and those enemies coalesce. Remember, your enemies, my friend.
Hmm.
So the more you are a threat to other countries, the more they coalesce together. And this is what you see happening in China and in Russia.
Right.
China using the American playbook to use proxy wars to overstretch your enemy. Is China seeing Russia fighting Ukraine, and because of that, it is dividing the NATO alliance. So China goes there and does exactly that, create a more rift by supplying Russia with weapons and moral support and other economic support to sustain the war.
True.
And then what is it doing? In the process, Iran gets emboldened. In the process, they create the BRICS. So you see, the rise of China is not technically just the rise of China alone. There are other rabid dogs that are targeting America from the sides. And even if they can't do anything, just the nuisance of it eventually becomes something that it has to take care of. And by that time, the fronts are so many that it can't fight it.
Is this something that should be handled in the media, or is it something that should be handled within Traore's cabinet, right? When it comes to changing this public opinion, that America is trying to use this general to change this public opinion of Traore within his own country. Is this something Traore should prepare for from a security perspective, or he should prepare for from a propaganda perspective, right?
Either way, it might not work. Either way, it might work. You can't. I mean, it's an enemy you don't know where he is. It's an enemy you don't understand. It's a message that is not clear. You don't know whether this is just somebody warning you or this is somebody who has already declared you need to be eliminated. You don't even know whether the enemy is capable of doing that. So probably the more you shout, the more the enemy starts looking for more clandestine ways of doing it. And in the process of shouting, you get to draw attention of another powerful power that is opposed to your enemy, and you create a friend. So by shouting, he might attract the attention of the Chinese. He might attract the attention of the Europeans who might come to protect you. Right. Just because they have realized that their interest and American interests are in variance.
Right.
When was America on the same side with the French? Remember, Traore's target is the French.
Very true.
So this could be just an economic war that is just being created. Because remember, when the Americans imposed tariffs on the Chinese cancelled a large order of Boeing planes. America now coming and threatening Traore, who is already at loggerheads with the manufacturers of Airbus.
Mm-hmm.
It's drawing attention and saying, hey, guy, oh, by the way, we're not after you. We just want to draw your attention to the fact that you can look our sides and we can help you overcome the French. You never know what the message is being passed.
So this General Langley is really just a very small pawn. He's just the perfect PR person to handle the problem.
Exactly.
Because I'm seeing that if they had a white face for this, right, they could risk blowing the entire ethos of their plan. Because then it would look like old colonialism, not neo-colonialism, right? Where and I think they're already aware of the diaspora wars that are brewing between foundational Black Americans and, continental Africans. But in this case, right, I really do think this is a Sambo move. This is really an Uncle Tom move from General Langley. But I also don't think he has much of a choice, being a Black man who represents a majority white nation and a majority white military, right? And so he's still taking orders. I just think he happens to be a Black man in a position of power, but I don't know if this necessarily reflects his own personal beliefs as a Black man, right? And I'm starting to realize the complexity of this, and I've been continuing to understand how deep the complexity of this has been. What are some more thoughts that you have around the particular situation of those two being pinned against each other?
You see, the assumption that you are making is that somebody is using him. You've lived long enough in America to know that some of the fiercest conflicts that exist in the neighborhoods are just between Black and Black. So this could just be an extension of that, just another bully in the block, just trying to project his power. And if this bully just happened to be backed by a powerful dealer, I mean, technically, the American government, that is what it has become. It is either a guns dealer, it is an economic saboteur, it is. They don't behave any differently from just the dealer in the street. It just depends on what they are peddling.
Right.
So this the assumption that somebody else is behind what this general is saying might not be true. It actually could be somebody who believes it. In fact, that could still be, like I had insinuated, somebody who is going against the interests of the country that he thinks he's speaking for. Because I do not see how Traore is already fighting the French. And the French are an economic threat to American economic interests in Africa. So to imagine that an American leader would not see that and want to use more friendly means to draw Traore towards them is, to me,
Confusing.
suspicious. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So the general could actually just be pursuing what he is convinced is the right path and is the right political and economic interest of his country.
Yeah. I just think they have bigger fish to fry than to worry about Burkina Faso.
That's it.
And that's why I'm wondering how dangerous Traore is starting to become for them to divert their attention and energy with this large tariff war they have with China, this large proxy war they have with Russia and Ukraine, to now divert it to the Sahel states. Like it really doesn't make sense unless there's some form of intelligence that we don't know that's strategic already that is
No,
emboldening Traore's stance, right?
no.
Okay.
When you have slaughtered a fat ram or a fat cow in the neighborhood, your biggest threat is not the hyena. As long as you have enough people waiting for that meat, you know that hyena will be killed immediately. Your threat is not a stray dog. Your threat is actually a fly.
You're losing me on the African dad analogy right now, man. Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, because you see, you are looking for the big threat, but the big threat is already taken care of. The world is already so divided in such a way that anybody who directly affects or threatens the interests of the Americans is taken care of immediately. And they don't blink when they are doing it. So there is already a checkmate on all the sources of threat to America. So what is left here is just the nuisance of somebody there not playing by the book, another one there, technically just the fly that is just hovering around and making sound near your ear. It is just a nuisance. I think that is what Traore is.
Wow.
If they wanted to get rid of him, they would just land, take care of him, and go back. In fact, it will not take even an evening.
You think it'll be that easy?
Why wouldn't it be that easy?
Traore has thwarted a significantly large amount of assassination attempts from the West. Secondly, he has shifted his team every time something like that has happened, right? And his first of all, his ability to understand military operations due to his experience in military operations gives him a leg up. He's not an inexperienced fighter, right? Also, he has the help of the Sahel. That is added military intelligence and added that's an added padding, because then their entry point would have to be in a different place. And I think
No. Is he appearing anywhere in public?
yes, he is.
So if he's appearing anywhere in public, he can be eliminated anytime by somebody who doesn't care whether he gets caught or not.
Mm.
You see, you are mistaking two things. I might want to eliminate you, but I don't want to be caught. So that eliminates the possibility of me ever eliminating you because I don't want to be caught. But somebody who doesn't want to be caught, somebody who doesn't even care about how many other people that he eliminates
You
in
remember?
the process.
You remember when they killed Osama, right? You remember
Yep.
when they killed Osama? Why did they dump? Why did they dump his body in the ocean?
Because they didn't want to create a cult around him.
Exactly. I think they don't want to kill Traore because of that reason as well. They know Africa is so sensitive right now. If they killed Traore, that would absolutely embolden, especially my generation. That would, you do not want to create a Thomas Sankara-like martyr for my generation because we're already so fired up with him alive that it's shifting so much, even in media, in how we think, in how we operate. Like, for example, Traore has removed all British uniforms in his country and has instituted African wear for all of their uniforms. That's a major cultural shift, right? Like when we were talking about in the first season, a strong military leader who does away with religious practices and religious prioritization, right? This religious prioritization. Hang on one second. I got to end this recording and then start another one. The thumbs up